This is a program to help educate you on some of the issues that are vital to your understanding and way of life, and what can be done to improve it. Only when we get other views can we make intelligent choices regarding the decisions and options available to us for the enrichment and improvement of our lives. Good Saturday evening. Truman Sigler for Personalities in the News, live from Fresno, California. This show is dedicated to the memory of John Castle, who started Personalities in the News in 1964 through 2003 on several local stations. The format of this program is educational in nature and based on the Constitution of the United States of America and the California Republic. The program today is about the political conventions held in the last 2 weeks. Comments on the so-called pandemic, a special guest call-in, and your comments. Call in to Talk Radio 1550, that's 559-899-1550. And also more updates about where we are today and how we got there. This will be based on the events of the last few weeks' happenings and our views on them. As these are current events and still in progress, and the full story is not out yet, may take more time to research the actual facts. Our first topic will be on the conventions, Democratic and Republican, by Steve Hempfling and myself. We are a republic. Are we a republic or a democracy? And what is the difference? And is it undemocratic? I'm going to read something here that I'm going to read on the show at least twice. Welcome. You came here from there because you didn't like there. And now you want to change here to be like there. We are not racist, phobic, or anti-whatever. You are. We simply like here the way it is. And most of us actually came here because it is not like there, wherever there was. You are welcome here, but please stop trying to make here like there. If you want here to be like there, you should not have left there to come here. And you are invited to leave here and go back there at your earliest convenience. And that needs to go out to everybody in a lot of places. The Democratic Convention was all about blaming Trump and others for all of the things that are and are now happening in this country, with wild accusations and no proof of facts, and no mention of the riots and destruction of property and life. There was no platform of how to correct any of this except to put more controls and taxes on the people, and was put forth with hate and vile rhetoric. Republicans, on the other hand, were all upbeat and with positive views and statements by real people, not pundits or politicians, and statements of proof that they have improved the condition of this country and kept their promises. And with their re-election, the best is yet to come. The future of this great republic is in your hands. Check the performance, history, and facts of both parties, and choose the people that are positive in nature for your particular situation. The events that have happened in these past weeks are of grave importance to all of us. We must use the constructive notice process now if this great country is to survive. The law enforcement police arresting people for exercising their rights. The hijacking of protesting people by criminal factions that looted, burned, and attacked innocent people's businesses after the marches. War is a war and is a war against this country. The foundation and principles of this country and must be dealt with as an invasion. It is being condoned by the same political parties by inflicting unconstitutional orders, mandates of governors, mayors, and others. It destroys the trust, respect, and the fear of any action with the officials and the police. The so-called pandemic coronavirus and the reaction of the servants in government and to the edicts and reactionary controls they placed on the people. We, the people, have the power and the means to effect a change and force you servants, which we elected to manage this republic, and you took an oath to do so. And we're not asking, we're demanding that you servants honor your oath and follow the constitutions. We, the people, have only the rights that we're willing to stand up for. Otherwise, we are only slaves that we let these people put us on. And I'll read you a link here that you should take care to respond to it. It's called GavinRecall2020.com. Get on your computer and go in there and punch it out. GavinRecall2020.com. Okay, let's see here now. Got a few minutes. Steve, you want to comment some on the... Go ahead and comment on some of what you thought of the...
The convention?
Conventions, yeah. Couldn't get it out.
You cut out a little bit on me. I watched some of it. I tried to watch some of the Democratic ones. It was very difficult for me. I did see one woman. She claimed to be a reincarnated mermaid, transgender something. I mean, she was just talking nonsense. I don't understand how she gets a place on this convention. But I noticed something else on the Democrats. They had the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm sure you heard this. And it wasn't a mistake. They took out the words "under God" and did the Pledge of Allegiance this year. I mean, in 2016, they almost had a riot at the convention because people did not want a prayer or anything to happen. These are serious problems to me because the Constitution was written by Christians. And these are God-given rights in the Bible to every individual that we're talking about in the Constitution. And when you go to the Republican convention, God was talked about quite a bit. It's a theme there because it's the golden rule. And this is where I grew up. This pretty much was the way it was. And that is, you treat people the way you want to be treated. I mean, where I grew up, you didn't lock your doors. There was no murders. There was almost no crime. I mean, other than speeding, stuff like that. But I mean, anything serious. Now it seems to happen all over. Even the people committing serious crimes in the past were worried about their soul, if they committed a murder or something. Today, that doesn't seem to faze them.
No, things have changed by quite a bit. When I went to school, I first went to a Catholic school for a while, and those of you who have ever gone to a Catholic school, that's pretty strict. If you don't do what they say, sometimes you can get some pretty sore knuckles out of that because the nuns,
they got the ruler.
They have the ruler, and then they ruled with it too. Believe me. And then I went and finished off the rest of my education in the public domain, which wasn't too bad back in the 40s and 50s. But it's terrible now. They indoctrinate the people. They don't let them really learn our history and all kinds of things like that.
Well, there's no discipline, and the ruler's been removed, and kids can run wild. So, of course, right now they're not running at all. There's no recess, no school.
No, that's true, and no sports, and no NASCAR, and no football, and nothing. They've just got the people willy-nilly down and terrible, and it's no wonder people are getting antsy, and all this rioting has taken place.
No, they are antsy. They're very upset. People are becoming very irritable. I mean, there's fist fights over whether you wear a mask or not, which is idiotic to me. Because if you study it all, or just open your eyes, you'll see how. I mean, I can't believe that people are really 100% in and believing everything about this pandemic. If you're older and have these conditions, being careful is not a problem. But I don't choose to do that. I'm just being locked at home. So, I mean, the Constitution, to me, this is what makes this country work. And the lockdowns they're not even conceived. In fact, people talked about these in the past and said there's no way they can do that here in this country with our Constitution. And I still believe that. Even though they've done it, it's only because people are capitulating to an order that means nothing. If the governor ordered you to dance in the street in the morning. How many would do it? China, we got these lockdowns from China, but China makes people go out and exercise. It's mandatory in some places, and you can get in trouble for not going out and exercising there. So, I mean, is that okay then too? Or what if they want to say we're gonna have a new day? Everybody has to run around with no clothes on by order of the governor. Then the legislature's not involved. How many people would follow that stupid order? Let me just say, the legislature here, even in California, is upset with the governor. Many of them, even Democrats, because they're not involved. This is not a law. Most people believe these are masks and the lockdowns are a law. They are not. They are from a tyrant dictator governor that we have that we are going to recall, which you mentioned earlier. He is not going to last. And beyond recall, once he's recalled, I would like to bring him up on criminal charges if there's any way to do that. That may not be possible the way the attorneys are here in California.
Well, I got a email here a couple of weeks ago from another radio host over on the coast. His name is Tom Quill. And he gave me the actual text of Gavin Newsom's executive order. This is the second one, where he says in there that there is no force of law. In other words, by law. They are not enforceable by law. All of these edicts and stuff that he's put out. He knew this when he did it the first time, and he reinforced it with the second time. But I call it a CYA because in this same order, he exempted himself from any obligation legally, but he left everybody else under him out to dry. And that's where our constructive notice comes in. Because we put the constructive notice personally on the people that are following his unlawful mandates and orders. And some other people are picking up this constructive notice thing. I've noticed it on the internet. I mean, not from locally, but they're using some of the same tactics, which is a good thing. And if you want a copy of the constructive notice, both to hand to persons or to really go into court with, contact Steve at the Free Enterprise Society. Hey, Steve, you want to talk about that, how they can get it?
Well, yeah, it's free. You go to freeenterprisesociety.com. If you're not on the internet, you'd have to call the society, get the number for Free Enterprise Society. But freeenterprisesociety.com, and there's a section on the constructive notice. You can download it. It's free, absolutely free. You can download the instructions on how to use it, free. And we want 1 million of these to go in. Everybody who's been wronged by this governor or by the mayor there in Fresno, I can't remember his name. I thought he was okay, but he is just as bad as the governor. And we're going to have a new mayor coming into Fresno who was a former police chief. I don't know how he's going to be. But the idea that they can dictate and order you around is just ridiculous to me. And we have got to plan on attacking them. You can sue. You can put them on notice. And this has been effective. And some people have said that when the county code enforcers come around their business, they hand them this constructive notice, and we've had reports of the county enforcers just walking down somewhere else because they don't want to be sued. And you can sue them. Not only can you sue the county if you wanted to, but you can sue this person individually, whoever's violating your rights at a government level. It's not really designed to go after Vons or a hardware store, even though a lot of those businesses are treating customers pretty poorly. I don't want to necessarily make things worse for them because they are following what they think is the law, and it's not the law. If the legislature doesn't, they have to make a bill, and then both legislatures have to pass it, and then the governor can sign it. It becomes a law. A directive, an order, what they call an executive order from the governor only applies to people that work for him.
That's right.
It doesn't apply to anybody else.
One more thing I want to read if we've got time before the break. I replied back to him. I thought a lot more about this, and here's what I believe it to mean. And that is a CYA, which I already explained. He really said that all the previous orders, mandates, acts, and etc. were and are by law, not enforceable by law. He knew it then when he made them, and the same for the new ones. So whose fault is all this damage caused by doing what he said to do? We will come back after our break, and I will finish that. And then we will carry on with our conversations on what we can do about it. Mr. Engineer, take it away. Welcome back to Personalities in the News. We will now continue with talking points on these topics with our co-host, Steve Hempfling, Director of the Free Enterprise Society, and our call-in guest, Sheriff Mack. Steve, would you make the introduction and take it from here?
Yes, Sheriff Richard Mack is out of Arizona. He's a sheriff that became kind of known back when the Brady Bill went into place, which was a nationwide 5-day waiting period for pistols, and the federal law required sheriffs to do background checks and everything on everybody buying a gun, or a pistol anyway. And Sheriff Mack and one other sheriff said this is ridiculous. A lot of sheriffs complained about it, like people do, and then most of them followed it. Even though there's no more authority for the federal government to do that to a sheriff than the governor to do these to private businesses and close the businesses and everything. And anyway, Sheriff Mack went to the Supreme Court and won. And his whole position was that I don't work for you, you don't pay me, and I'm not doing it. I mean, it's fantastic. It's a great constitutional win. So welcome, Sheriff. It's really a pleasure to have you join us.
Well, thanks. I can only be on one segment, but I apologize for that, but I'm still traveling, and I pulled over so I could do your show for a little bit. I appreciate what both of you are doing to get the truth out there to the American people, especially people in Fresno area, where Sheriff Mims, a friend of mine, is a sheriff there. I haven't been sheriff for over 20 years, but I still work with sheriffs all across the country because of one primary thing, and that is the people of this country, when they get so frustrated with being victimized by the government, they have to be able to go to someone for help and safety and protection and liberty. And that person is indeed the county sheriff. And right now there's 5 states suing their own states, but what they've done is they've taken that now and they're going to federal courts suing their own states, and these are done by ministers and pastors and clergymen because they've been arrested or harassed or threatened just for having church service. And my whole platform and our whole goal at CSPOA, Constitutional Sheriffs Peace Officers Association, is to have the people protected without having to go to court, without having to spend all their life savings and everything they work for their lives to go to court on something that is already guaranteed in the Constitution. And we believe that the sheriff should protect people from being victimized by their own government. And yes, my Supreme Court decision reinforces this, and indeed, everyone has a responsibility to protect liberty. And that doesn't mean some sheriff goes, oh, well, yeah, I guess you're getting screwed over by the government, so, you need to go get a good lawyer. My brother-in-law is a good lawyer. Why don't I refer you to him? The sheriff is not a lawyer service. He's not a lawyer referral service. And he should just tell people that are victimizing people in his county to stop it. And this is a peaceful, effective movement. And I believe without any hesitation, I believe with all my heart, that if the sheriffs get involved now, before it's too late, we will keep this restoration of our Constitution peaceful and effective.
Yes.
And we're having an event on September 30th in Lynchburg, Virginia, at Liberty University, and I'm right now making this public. I am inviting Sheriff Mims to be there, and we would love to have her there. And everybody listening to this program that lives in the Fresno area needs to call her and ask her to attend the CSPOA, the Constitutional Sheriff's meeting in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I will call her Monday and give her all the details. But it's at Liberty University all day on September 30th, and I'll even pay for her hotel.
Yeah. Sheriff Mack, I'd like to interject one little thing here. If you go on the Free Enterprise Society website, you will find our constructive notice that we designed for use and not using a lawyer. And what you do is you go after the people that are harassing you, and if they take action against you, they have testified against themselves, and there would be no rebuttal that they can make if you take them to court. There's also a notice in there that can be used by attorneys and people that want to do this, and we're using the RICO statutes to go after them, and it works because I did it.
Wow. Well, I don't agree with using attorneys either, and but I shouldn't have to go to any kind of court on my natural rights. My natural
Yes.
rights are to be guaranteed by all government, and it should be stopped at the yes or no level, with a sheriff telling no to government employees and agents that think that they can violate people's rights. And I believe that Sheriff Mims is the type of sheriff and person that would do just that.
Well, I know that for a fact because when I was in one of my service clubs as an official, we had an event that we held every year called Respect for Law. And we had law enforcement from about 4 or 5 counties come into a luncheon and all that. And I had the privilege of having, when I was lieutenant governor for the zone, of being able to sit right next to her, and it was a pleasure. And I've talked to her at length on some of these things. She's a fine lady.
She really is. She really is. And we hope that she'll be to our conference. I know it's across country for her, but it's across country for me too. And this is where the sheriffs of this country are going to come together and be unified in upholding and defending the Constitution. And they will have a great fellowship there with each other and a great emphasis to go back to our various states and counties and let everyone know that the Constitution will indeed be enforced as the supreme law of the land within every jurisdiction of every sheriff in this country.
Well, Sheriff, I want to point out something. I want to give you a little bit of accolades. I mean, you started this thing with this other sheriff, and you thought you were going to be squished like a bug when you were standing up against the Brady bill, and you have started, the ball rolling, and now there's sheriffs. I don't know how many hundreds of them you have. And one of the reasons I wanted you on the program today is because you mentioned that there's 40 sheriffs now going against the governor here in California, Governor Newsom, and then we have 58 counties, so 40 sheriffs is really great, a great number.
Yeah, and I got that number from one of the California sheriffs in Merced, California, in Merced Valley. And I'm really proud of the sheriffs there. Sheriff Scott Jones in Sacramento has even stood against the governor and his ridiculous orders because they are so obviously wrong, immoral, and unconstitutional. And I'll tell Governor Newsom right here and now, and everybody else in the state of California, he has no authority to shut you down. He has no authority to force masks, and he has no authority to keep you from doing your business and making a living. He's supposed to be protecting that, not destroying it. And look at Hawaii. Hawaii's completely being destroyed by politicians who made themselves dictators, and they used to have the lowest rate because everybody had to quarantine as soon as you got there. And again, it was just ridiculous for them to do that. And sure enough, they had a little spike, so they're shutting everybody down again. And Hawaii's going to be destroyed. I just wonder how they think they're going to survive if they don't allow people to be free and to run their businesses.
Yeah.
And
I kind of want to jump in and point
tourism,
something out to
and
people.
that's really where they're headed.
The sheriff is the only constitutional officer in the county. You guys are to protect people's rights, to protect their property, protect their liberty. And the police departments, as opposed to the police departments, which is the chief of police is just appointed by an elected official, the mayor, and that is a whole different ballgame, And but the sheriff should be standing up for our rights and standing up for our property, and actually doing that. So, but the number of sheriffs and your convention coming up is fantastic.
But you're right; they're a different animal.
Yeah.
But we hope they will keep their oath. They take the same oath the sheriff does.
Yeah. Well, I recommend to everybody that you resist. Don't follow their orders. If they say you're going to have to turn around and walk out, just keep walking forward. Force them to take some action. And when they take the action against you as an individual, where they're following orders that are unlawful and illegal and unconstitutional, their case is shot down if you go to court. They have no defense because they instigated it.
Yeah. Well, I can't say enough how important Richard Mack's work is, because law enforcement, a lot of sheriffs don't know what they're closer to our level of the citizens than any other law enforcement, and they were thinking they're subservient. Some of them think they're subservient to the governor or the federal government.
No way.
And Mack is setting everybody straight.
Well, it was a real miracle to win a case at the U.S. Supreme Court, and you're right, Steve. I never thought it would make it that far, and that's why I can tell you it was just absolutely 100% a miracle. I was grateful to be a part of it. I was grateful for the calling, and now we need all sheriffs in this country to answer the call for liberty, and every one of us, law enforcement and police work, police officers and sheriffs, we must put liberty first. And I'm telling you, we can take back America without firing a shot and without any violence. And I look forward to working with the sheriffs on September 30th. Remember, everybody listen to this. If you live in Fresno County area, call Sheriff Mims and tell her you want her to go to the CSPOA Constitutional Sheriff's training in Lynchburg, Virginia on September 30th. Just tell her to call me. She knows my number.
Well, people can also go there and get some information on what the work you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody should become a member of the CSPOA. Every citizen can join. Every person listening to the show, you can donate. You can help us pay for that wonderful event on September 30th. And some of you can even find a way to attend yourself. If you help get a sheriff there, then you're allowed one ticket to the seminar. It's going to be the best thing for liberty that we've had in this country in a long time, probably since the Constitutional Convention.
I would agree to that.
Well, it is, and once the sheriffs realize, as Steve was alluding to, once the sheriffs realize that their true duty is to protect liberty, life, liberty, and property, then everybody benefits and the Constitution is restored.
That's correct. And what's nice about the sheriffs is they are elected by the people. They're not appointed by bureaucrats. And this is why this is going to work if they educate themselves and make use of the tools that are available to them to stand up to these tyrants.
Amen. You're absolutely correct. And it's just a natural process for the people to delegate to the sheriff, and then the sheriff promises, with that job that he was elected to do, he promises to uphold and defend their Constitution. It's a great plan. It's a great constitutional republic.
Well, Sheriff Mack, we appreciate your coming on. I've got some music in my ears telling me that it's time for our second break for the evening. And good luck and Godspeed to all of your efforts. We shall be returning as soon as the commercials are done. That was a good one, Steve.
Yeah.
Well done.
I guess we got to get back to the convention. I keep going back to COVID. It's really irritating me.
Well, I've got some paperwork in front of me here if you want to Welcome back to Personalities in the News and our topics for today. Call in to Talk Radio 1550 KXEX 559-899-1550 with your questions or your comments or anything that you have on your mind that you think we might be able to help with or handle. It gives me great pleasure to reintroduce Steve Hempling, who's going to read something that's very important, especially after listening and watching these conventions and hearing the people that were making a plea. That was the Republicans, not a plea, but stating facts, and the Democrats who were just complaining that everybody is deplorables and terrible and our country's upside down, which is getting close to it, and whose fault it was. And I just tell them, look in the mirror. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, it's surprising how many people really are disturbed by Trump, or seemingly disturbed by Trump, calling him a liar and everything. And it's like it is the opposite of what is really happening. Trump tells you what he's thinking. He is the first politician, and I think in my lifetime, 64 years, it is not a two-faced politician almost. There's been a few, I'm sure. Ron Paul one, but most of them, you can't trust them. They say one thing to your face, and then they turn around and say something completely opposite. And those Democrats especially, I don't think they consider you as good as a herd of cows or cattle, the way they talk about some things that I've heard. But now, people are afraid to even put a bumper sticker on their car because it's going to be keyed or burned out. But Trump mentioned several times, the Christianity, he's a Christian, and he talked about his God. That is what makes this Constitution so great. I have a little thing here written by Gary Hansen. He's one of the owners, or the owner of this station or network here. But it's pretty good, so I'm going to read it for you. It's for those of you who say I can't believe you would vote for Trump. I'm sure all of you heard that from somebody. Well, folks, listen up. I'm not just voting for him. This isn't a personality contest. I'm voting for the Second Amendment. I'm voting for the next Supreme Court justice. I'm voting for the Electoral College and the republic we live in. I'm voting for the police, for law and order. I'm voting for the military and the veterans who fought for and died for this country. I'm voting for the flag that is always missing from the Democratic backgrounds. I'm voting for the right to speak my opinion and not be censored. I'm voting for secure borders. I'm voting for every unborn soul the Democrats want to murder. I'm voting for the freedom and the American dream. I'm voting for good and against evil. I am not just voting for one person. I'm voting for the future of our country. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What are you voting for? I think that is excellent. I mean, Trump says we want to make America first, and the Democrats are adamantly against that. So they want to put America second or third or last, I guess. I mean, why would you vote for someone like that? And just one other comment on the convention and electing people. This Constitution here is very, very important, and it was written by Christians, and it was the rights given to us. They considered God-given rights right from the Bible, and we have to be careful. When we elect people that are not Christians, sometimes I think we're going to run into some problem. Ilhan Omar, I think, she's not a Christian, got elected to Congress. She came here from another country to get a better life. She got the better life, and now she talks about how much she hates this country. What's the matter with that woman? She can go home. I'll help pay for the ticket.
That's very generous of you, Steve.
It is. She wants Sharia law and stuff. I mean, that's just moronic.
Okay, did you want to switch into the COVID, or did you want to address possibly the constructive notice? Your choice.
Well, the constructive notice, I mean, we kind of covered it already, but it just goes through your rights. It tells when you hand it to somebody, it says, I know my rights. I'm not waiving any of them. And I'm not volunteering for anything. And if you violate my rights, I'm going to sue you personally. And it even cites some cases. I won a Supreme Court case that says you can do it. Truman, I know you yourself has used this in the past against the Bureau of Automotive Repair here in California.
Well, against the people that work for them.
What's that?
Against the people that work for him, followed their orders.
Right. It wasn't. You didn't sue the agency, but
No.
you sued the people that were coming to your business or your hobby, whatever you call it, and causing you trouble because you decided you don't need to be licensed, and the law doesn't even require you to be licensed that you can find, which was But most people will go ahead and do it because it's easier. Like most people put the mask on. Well, it's just easier. Just put the mask on.
Yeah.
Well, no. If it was. I'll put the mask on if I choose to put the mask on. That's what Americans do. But anyway, you sued these people personally. They went to the Attorney General, said, we expect you to pay for this. That's how it works. If you sue the agency would pay for their defense of these agents. But when you sue them personally, no, they're on their own. They have to pay out of their pocket. Boy, does that change the whole picture with these people.
Yes, it did. They had no defense, and they didn't even answer the complaint, which is costly if you hire an attorney to answer a complaint in federal court. And when I did this,
you filed the complaint and they didn't even answer it.
That's correct.
Did they kind of leave you mostly alone or something after that, somewhat? But they were very upset with you. I know that.
Yeah,
but
well,
they had trouble. They couldn't.
They haven't bothered me since. And when they come by where I am, they say, "Hi, Truman. How you doing today?" And they go on their way. Anyway.
Yeah.
I got my new hat today. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's going out over the air. It's Trump 2020. Keep America great. I urge everyone, get one and wear it. Steve?
I don't see your hat, but yes, we got to stop being afraid. I think most Americans are really with us on Trump. He's done a lot of good things for the country. To deny that makes me wonder, what a person does to not see that. I mean, if you have the economy and everything and jobs, my own son and my daughter, they have done well until the pandemic. They've done better financially and everything, and for people. So it just makes me think that they're not getting a private paycheck. They're getting paid by government, or they're on welfare, or they're living in a home, or maybe all of the above. But I mean, it just doesn't make sense to not support Trump if you're a working person needing to provide for yourself, because Trump, the Democrats are not going to let you do that.
No, they're not going to let you do that. Well, I'm going to just break in a little bit on this COVID thing. And this is an article by John Rappaport. I get articles from him quite a bit of time during the week. And he is right on. He has been fighting this thing for about 30 years. He got in on it when AIDS was going on, and then SARS, and then the swine flu, and then H1N1 or whatever that one is. And this COVID is the same thing. There is no one virus that you can identify by itself that says it's COVID. And the same with SARS. They couldn't find it. And the same with all the rest of them. So now what's going on? They are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a vaccine for something that doesn't exist. Well, think about that for a minute. And then they want everybody to take this vaccine that has not been proven to work on COVID, because the virus causes just that, according to them and all the people that are supposed to do the research that have not done it. That's the whole thing. They have not done the research to find the one thing that makes it a epidemic. And so now they're making vaccinations and other things for it for something that doesn't exist. How's that going to work?
It's not going to work very well. And it hasn't worked very well. I mean, California, we were, I think Newsom's intent on making to bankrupt the state, and he thinks that's going to hurt Trump somehow. I don't see how, because it's not Trump doing it. I mean, they can. I know they're saying that, but he's not the one doing it.
No.
And I like to point this out every time, because I get the updated numbers every week. But the best model that I've seen is that we have 6 states that did not lock down, and they're doing better than most of the states that did lock down. I mean, the virus is going to do what it's going to do. And country-wise, Sweden is one I like to mention. They never locked down. The schools were open the whole time. Everything is open. and their death rate per million is 571 per million, and that's not very much. That's that's less than 1,000th of a percent, I think. And the United States is 551.
Steve, I got the music in there. You can continue on as soon as we come back after the station does its thing with this time slot. Mr. Engineer, you got it. Welcome back to Personalities in the News and our topics for today. Call in to Talk Radio 1550 KXEX 559-899-1550. Steve, you have some comments from social media? You want to take it over there?
Well, I got one here from Brenda on Facebook. She says Pelosi controls Gavin Newsom and she won't let him open anything until after the election. He is a relative of Pelosi. I don't know what it is.
He's a nephew, I believe.
Nephew is what kind of comes to mind. And I think Brenda's probably right. Pelosi's probably applying some pressure to him. But he won't be in office much longer if all goes well. So,
yeah, the fact that we've got 40 sheriffs hanging up on this thing against Newsom, that's amazing.
Well, they're good guys. I mean, this is unheard of. I mean, even the deputies and police all over scratching their head about what is going on. This is not what they were trained to do, and they never expected anything like this. It's because their relatives and stuff are being hurt as well. That doesn't even count the disgrace of what they're trying to do to the police. And this is Marxist policy. They attack the police and they discredit the police and they try to get rid of the police, and that's once they do that, we won't have any law and we won't have a constitution. So the Americans that know this is ridiculous and seriously a problem better start standing up. I mean, there's a thing called silent majority, and a lot of people that I run into absolutely agree with just about everything I say, but they won't wear a hat, or they won't put a bumper sticker on, or they won't talk to people. You know, I don't know if that's the best way to communicate, but some, voting, even though the polls may even show Trump behind, I think he's going to win in a landslide unless unless the vote is rigged, and they California may be a lost cause with their mail-in voting. We'll have to see how that goes. I just can't imagine it going very well, but because we did the primary that way, and there wasn't any place to go. There wasn't a poll to go to vote. That's what I would prefer to do. You could mail the ballot in, or you could go to a little cardboard ones for this spring to stick them in a cardboard box. I mean, that's not much of a protection for the ballots, and there was nobody standing there taking them. You just had just a box sitting there. I could throw in 100 ballots, I guess, if I wanted to, and I think some of the bad guys are going to do that. So
I'm going to continue on with the finishing up. Did you have something you wanted to say before I continue on?
Well, Eleanor, we got another comment on Facebook from Eleanor. Gavin Newsom has to go, and I can't read the rest of it, but he's got to go, and I totally agree with that. He should go. Instead of serving his term as governor, he's got to start serving his prison term. That's what I want.
Amen. As I was speaking when Sheriff Mack came on, and whose fault is all this damage being caused by? Whose fault is it from all these edicts from the governors and all of these things? And it's made to the people that are now put him in and are agreeing and doing what he says to do illegally. Now these same people are complaining. Hey, you're waking up. They followed what Newsom said to do. Those people, by not questioning his authority and listening to other so-called experts, the people have been dumbed down by the government and the run education system and propaganda systems, and are not checking government jurisdiction over them by licensing them, regulating what they can and cannot do with their money and lives. These people have been told they are free, when in fact they are slaves to corporate entities called government. Again, I say, whose fault is this? This might seem a little terse, but maybe some people won't like it. But wake up, look in the mirror. That's whose fault it is. If you obey them, then you give them jurisdiction. And if you follow all their stuff, you're sunk. You never questioned authority or jurisdiction. You believed them, and they said this is for your own good. And we know what's good for you, and everybody has to comply. This has become a full-blown police state. You must educate yourself and untangle yourself from all the government regulation and control. Last word is not easy, and it takes time and much effort, but it can be done, and you can become free. Being free requires responsibility and effort. For those of you that do not want to be free and depend upon government for your life, I have no problem with your choice, as it is yours, and I respect that. And that's a little bit strong, but it needs to be strong. A phone call? We have someone on the line. Caller?
Hi, I just want to, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
We just want to say thank you. We really appreciate your show, my husband and I, and Sheriff Church for all his input. My husband has a question he wanted me to ask. Do you think California will flip to red in November? And if so, why? And if not, what will it take?
Steve, you want to take that on?
Well, that is really a great thought, I think it's pretty unlikely because it is so lopsided here. But still, this COVID thing could change the whole balance. I mean, a lot of people that call themselves Democrats do work for a living, and they're not working now either. And the unemployment, the EDD has been terrible, pretty terrible. They're months and months behind. If you're living like a lot of young people, paycheck to paycheck, you're probably living on the street by the end of 6 weeks, still not getting your unemployment. I would like to see it. I mean, to me, I can't understand why people vote for these guys anyway, but that would be pretty good. I mean, once in a while we get a Republican governor in there. We've got some Republican representatives. We lost a lot of them in 2018, and hopefully we'll get those back. But in California, with the vote in by mail, we just don't know how that's going to go. This could be, we may lose if it's not a fair. If it's a fair ballot, I really like the question, because if it's a fair ballot, I think we will gain some ground here in the election, or, at least away from the Democrats. I'm not total supporter of all Republicans either. A lot of them do nothing, but it's probably better to do nothing than sit there and actively try to undermine our Constitution.
Well, the good part about this question is a lot of people are waking up, and I'm going to think on the positive side, because we're getting a lot of people I talk to that are both Democrat and Republican don't want to let people know how they feel about this. And I think we're going to see something in California here that just might shock a lot of people. And I'm going to be hopeful and think that that's going to happen. And the biggest good side of that is, if we switch to Republican, look at how much more power we'll have in the government, in the Senate and the House. That's the good side. Steve?
Yeah, yes, and I want to go back to recallgavin2020.com. You can download the thing yourself. You can download the instructions. You can sign right there at home. You can do your whole family, and it tells you how to certify it and send it in. You can do that yourself. You don't have to go to a site or some place where they're signing up. Or maybe some of you may run into that and go ahead and sign up. But I'm signing up as many people as I can. My daughter's doing the same thing. Governor Newsom his days are numbered. I mean, if we can't get rid of him for this, I don't know if California has enough people thinking about it. But I believe that the people aren't hearing about the recall, because a lot of people I run into didn't know one was happening, and I just happened to have the paperwork in my car when I meet these guys.
Good. Well, I'm going to mention something here. The presentations that we've had this evening are good. The comments we're getting in on the Facebook and the telephone and so forth are excellent. We appreciate you people backing us up on this. Now, I'm going to read this little thing again that I do all the time. Welcome. You came here from there because you didn't like there. And now you want to change here to be like there. We're not racist, phobic, or anti-whatever you are. We simply like it here the way it is. And most of us actually came here because it's not like there, wherever there was. You are welcome here, but please stop trying to make here like there. If you want here to be like there, you should not have left there to come here. And you are invited to leave here and go back there at your earliest convenience. Ladies and gentlemen, that says a whole lot, because look what we got going on in our government now. We got some people in there that have been elected to office that are trashing our Constitution and our way of government. And so we're coming up on time to close out for the evening here, Steve. We got about a minute, and then I'll swing into the close. Have some comments?
Well, I just want to remind people, in Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, the United States guarantee us a Republican form of government, not a democracy. The word democracy does not even appear in this Constitution. We are a republic, one of law. Democracy, the majority rules,
is mob rule.
Good, except it doesn't work.
Okay. We are closing marks for this evening. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. If you like our format and our topics, let us know and tell others. Our time is up for this evening. Thanks to the hosts for their views and opinions. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving to Sunday in 2 weeks. We'll be at the same time slot, 5 to 6 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. Same time, new stations, Talk Radio, KXEX 1550, and TV channel 32.3. Truman Sigler and co-host Steve Hempling for personalities in the news. And thank you for tuning in. Good night.
Talk to you next week.